In the opulent world of 1960s, In the opulent world of 1960s Texas high society, In the opulent world of 1960s Texas high society, Alice Glass was a name whispered in hushed tones, a woman whose charm and elegance masked a secret that could unravel the powerful elite. She moved through glittering parties and exclusive clubs, but behind her poised smile lay a double life that few could imagine. One evening, at a lavish fundraiser in Dallas, she caught the eye of a man whose influence stretched from the state capitol to Washington, D.C. Their first encounter was brief, a shared glance across a crowded room, but it sparked a connection that would lead to years of clandestine meetings and hidden letters. As rumors began to swirl, friends noticed Alice becoming more withdrawn, her once bright eyes clouded with worry. What was she hiding, and why did she risk everything for a relationship shrouded in secrecy? The answers lie in a tale of love, power, and betrayal that started with a simple handshake and ended in a mystery that still haunts those who knew her. Just when you thought the shadows couldn't deepen, the truth about Alice Glass and LBJ twists further. Like and subscribe to our channel for more chilling tales that haunt the night. Now back to the dark corridors of power where secrets fester. Alice Glass grew up in the opulent world of 1960s Texas high society. Alice Glass was a name whispered in hushed tones, a woman whose charm and elegance masked a secret that could unravel the powerful elite. She moved through glittering parties and exclusive clubs, but behind her poised smile lay a double life that few could imagine. One evening, at a lavish fundraiser in Dallas, she caught the eye of a man whose influence stretched from the state capitol to Washington, D.C. Their first encounter was brief, a shared glance across a crowded room, but it sparked a connection that would lead to years of clandestine meetings and hidden letters. As rumors began to swirl, friends noticed Alice becoming more withdrawn, her once bright eyes clouded with worry. What was she hiding, and why did she risk everything for a relationship shrouded in secrecy? The answers lie in a tale of love, power, and betrayal that started with a simple handshake and ended in a mystery that still haunts those who knew her. Just when you thought the shadows couldn't deepen, the truth about Alice Glass and LBJ twists further. Like and subscribe to our channel for more chilling tales that haunt the night. Now back to the dark corridors of power where secrets fester. Alice Glass grew up in a wealthy Texas family, accustomed to the privileges and expectations of the elite. From a young age, she was groomed for a life of social prominence, attending exclusive schools and mingling with the state's most influential figures. Her parents envisioned a future filled with advantageous marriages and charitable endeavors, but Alice harbored a rebellious streak. She often escaped to the family's ranch, where she found solace in the vast, open landscapes, dreaming of a life beyond the rigid social circles. It was during one of these escapes that she first developed a keen interest in politics, secretly reading newspapers and listening to radio broadcasts about the turbulent changes sweeping the nation. This curiosity would later draw her into the orbit of powerful men, setting the stage for a relationship that defied convention. As she entered adulthood, Alice's intelligence and wit made her a sought-after companion in high society, but she felt increasingly trapped by its expectations. Little did she know, her path was about to cross with someone whose ambitions would challenge everything she believed in. The man at the center of Alice's secret was none other than a rising political star, whose charm and determination had already made him a force in Texas politics. Their paths first intersected at a private dinner party in Austin, where Alice was invited as a guest of a mutual friend. Initially, their conversations were light and polite, centered on shared interests in art and literature, but soon they delved into deeper topics like social justice and economic reform. Alice found herself captivated by his vision for a better Texas, and he, in turn, was drawn to her sharp insights and unwavering confidence. They began meeting in discreet locations, quiet cafes, secluded parks, and even the back rooms of libraries, always careful to avoid prying eyes. Letters exchanged between them revealed a growing emotional bond, filled with hopes and fears about their respective futures. Yet, as their connection deepened, Alice started noticing subtle signs of surveillance. Unfamiliar cars parked near her home and whispered warnings from trusted friends. She wondered if their secret was already slipping out, and what it might cost them both. As their relationship blossomed in secret, the pressures of public life began to take a toll. Alice's family started questioning her frequent absences and sudden changes in behavior, while the political figure faced increasing scrutiny from rivals and the media. They devised a code for their communications, using innocent-sounding phrases in telegrams and phone calls to arrange meetings. One evening, during a stolen moment in a hidden garden, Alice confessed her fears of exposure, worrying that their love could ruin his career and her reputation. He reassured her, speaking of a future where they might no longer need to hide, but the weight of their secret grew heavier with each passing day. Strange incidents occurred: a break-in at Alice's apartment where nothing was stolen, and anonymous notes warning her to stay away. She began to suspect that someone was deliberately trying to uncover their affair, perhaps a jealous acquaintance or a political enemy. The tension mounted, leaving Alice to wonder if their dream of a life together was nothing more than a fragile illusion. The turning point came during a high-stakes political rally in Houston, where Alice attended incognito, disguised in a simple hat and glasses to avoid recognition. From the crowd, she watched her lover deliver a passionate speech, his words inspiring cheers and applause, but she noticed his eyes occasionally darting toward her, filled with a mix of affection and anxiety. After the event, they managed a brief, hurried meeting in a back alley, where he revealed that investigators had started digging into his personal life, prompted by anonymous tips. He urged Alice to destroy all evidence of their relationship, the letters, photographs, and keepsakes, fearing that exposure was imminent. Heartbroken but resolute, she returned home and began burning the mementos in her fireplace, the flames consuming years of hidden emotions. As she watched the smoke rise, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, and that their story was far from over. What she didn't know was that this act of destruction would only deepen the mystery, leading to a revelation that no one saw coming. Years after their affair ended, Alice Glass lived a quiet, reclusive life, the memories of her past love buried deep. But in the 1980s, a historian researching Texas political archives stumbled upon a hidden box of documents that had been misfiled for decades. Inside, she found not only the remnants of Alice's letters, but also shocking evidence that the political figure had been secretly married to another woman the entire time, a fact he had concealed from Alice and the public. Even more astonishing, the historian discovered that Alice had unknowingly been part of a larger scheme. Her lover had used their relationship to gain insider information from her elite connections, manipulating her affections to advance his career. The anonymous threats and surveillance, they were orchestrated by his own allies to ensure the affair remained hidden, protecting his political image. Alice, who had believed in a genuine love, was merely a pawn in a game of power. The twist left historians questioning everything about the era's political machinations and the true cost of ambition. The story of Alice Glass and her secret affair reveals a web of deception, love, and power within the Texas elite. From their initial connection to the shocking twist of manipulation, this tale reminds us that history is often written by the victors, hiding truths in plain sight. Alice's experience shows how personal relationships can be twisted for political gain, leaving behind unanswered questions and broken hearts. As we reflect on this mystery, it challenges us to look deeper into the stories we think we know. What do you believe was the real motive behind the affair? Could Alice have uncovered the truth earlier, or was she destined to be a victim of circumstance? Share your theories in the comments below, And if you found this story intriguing, like and subscribe for more unsolved mysteries from the past. Let's keep the conversation going, because sometimes the most compelling secrets are the ones we haven't fully uncovered yet. In the quiet halls of Monticello, a secret love story unfolded, one that history books often overlook. Imagine a young woman, enslaved yet intimately connected to one of America's founding fathers. Her name was Sally Hemings, and her life was a tapestry of hidden emotions and unspoken truths. From the moment she arrived in Paris as a teenager, her world shifted. She wasn't just a servant. She was part of a complex web that would shape her destiny and that of her children. What started as a journey across the ocean would lead to a bond that defied the norms of their time, filled with whispers and shadows. But why did this relationship remain in the shadows for so long? The answers lie in the letters, the rumors, and the undeniable evidence that emerged decades later. As we peel back the layers, you'll see how one woman's courage and resilience challenged the very foundations of power. Stay with me, because this isn't just a story of the past. It's a mystery that echoes into today, and the twist at the end will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Sally Hemings was born into slavery in 1773, the daughter of an enslaved woman and John Wales, Thomas Jefferson's father-in-law. This made her the half-sister of Jefferson's late wife, Martha, a fact that added layers of complexity to her life. At just 14, Sally accompanied Jefferson's daughter to Paris, where Jefferson served as the American minister. In the bustling, enlightened city, she experienced a world far removed from the plantations of Virginia. Paris offered a glimpse of freedom. Under French law, she could have claimed her liberty. Yet she made a fateful decision to return to America with Jefferson. Why would she choose to go back to a life of enslavement? Rumors suggest a promise was made, a promise concerning her future children. This period marked the beginning of their intimate relationship, one that would span decades. As Sally navigated this new dynamic, she held secrets that could unravel the public image of a president. But what was the real reason behind her return? The clues point to a deeper bond, one that went beyond master and servant. And as we dig deeper, the shadows of Monticello begin to whisper tales of love, power, and sacrifice. Back at Monticello, Sally Hemings lived a life of duality. On the surface, she was a household servant, but in private, she bore Jefferson's children, 6 in total, though only 4 survived to adulthood. Their existence was shrouded in secrecy. They were enslaved like their mother, yet they carried the bloodline of a president. Jefferson never publicly acknowledged them, but he provided for their education and training in trades, a rare privilege for enslaved people. Sally's children grew up in the shadow of the great house, their light skin and resemblance to Jefferson sparking whispers among visitors and slaves alike. Life at Monticello was a delicate balance of privilege and oppression. Sally managed to secure promises for her children's freedom, a testament to her resilience. But how did she navigate the daily tensions of living so close to power? Stories tell of quiet moments in the gardens, of stolen glances, and of the weight of unspoken truths. As the years passed, the children began to question their identity and future. What would happen when they came of age? The answer would set the stage for a dramatic revelation, one that would challenge the legacy of a nation's hero. As Jefferson's presidency ended and he retired to Monticello, the dynamics of his relationship with Sally became more entrenched. She continued to live in the main house, performing duties that kept her close to him. Meanwhile, her children, Beverly, Harriet, Madison, and Eston, grew up, each facing their own crossroads. Jefferson had promised Sally that their children would be freed upon reaching adulthood, a pledge that hinted at a deeper commitment. In 1822, Beverly and Harriet were allowed to escape, a carefully orchestrated departure that granted them freedom, though they had to leave Monticello and their mother behind. This act was Jefferson's way of honoring his word without public scandal. But why did he go to such lengths? Some historians believe it was out of affection, while others see it as a calculated move to protect his reputation. For Sally, it meant the heartbreak of separation, yet hope for her children's futures. The remaining children, Madison and Eston, stayed enslaved until after Jefferson's death. Throughout this, Sally remained a constant, silent figure in the background, her story woven into the fabric of Monticello. But as time passed, the secrets began to strain, and the truth threatened to emerge. What would it take for the world to see beyond the myths? After Thomas Jefferson's death in 1826, his will was read, and it did not mention Sally Hemings or her children directly. However, in a quiet act of liberation, he had arranged for the freeing of 5 enslaved individuals in his will, though Sally was not among them. She was eventually freed by Jefferson's daughter, Martha, and lived out her days in Charlottesville, near her children. Madison and Eston were freed in the years following, and they went on to lead lives as free people, with Eston even changing his surname and passing as white to avoid the prejudices of the time. Sally's legacy, however, was largely erased from official histories, dismissed as rumor or scandal by Jefferson's defenders. For decades, her story was a footnote, debated by scholars and denied by many. But in the late 20th century, DNA testing and historical research began to shed new light. Oral histories from Hemings' descendants and documents pointed to the truth. Why was this evidence suppressed for so long? It reveals the uncomfortable intersections of race, power, and love in America's past. As we approach the final twist, consider this. What if the greatest secret wasn't the relationship itself, but what it says about the man behind the monument? Here's the twist that changes everything. Sally Hemings was not just an enslaved woman in a relationship with Thomas Jefferson. She was his legal property, yet evidence suggests she held a unique power in their dynamic. Recent studies reveal that Sally's return from Paris was likely negotiated. She agreed to come back to Monticello in exchange for freedom for her future children. This wasn't merely a romantic affair. It was a strategic pact that gave her agency in a system designed to strip it away. Even more shocking, Sally was the half-sister of Jefferson's beloved wife, Martha, making her children not only Jefferson's, but also the nieces and nephews of his deceased wife. This familial connection adds a layer of complexity that historians are still unraveling. Furthermore, despite Jefferson's public stance against race mixing, he ensured his children with Sally could pass into white society, a contradiction that highlights the hypocrisy of the era. The real mystery isn't whether the relationship happened. It's how Sally, from a position of enslavement, managed to secure a legacy that endured. Her descendants went on to thrive, blending into American society, while Jefferson's public image was forever altered. This twist forces us to rethink who held the real power in this story, and it challenges the sanitized versions of history we've been taught. The story of Sally Hemings and Thomas Jefferson is a poignant tale of love, power, and resilience in the face of oppression. From the halls of Monticello to the streets of Paris, their relationship defied conventions and left a legacy that continues to spark debate. We've seen how Sally, an enslaved woman, navigated a world of secrets to secure freedom for her children, and how historical evidence has slowly brought her story to light. The twist reveals that this was more than a hidden affair. It was a negotiated agreement that gave Sally a measure of control, challenging our perceptions of agency in slavery. Her descendants' lives stand as a testament to her strength, and Jefferson's contradictions remind us that history is often more complex than it appears. But what do you think really happened? Was it love, necessity, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments below, And if this story moved you, like and subscribe for more untold histories. Let's keep the conversation going, because every voice matters in uncovering the truth. In the roaring 1920s, a young woman named Nan Britton held a secret that could shatter the presidency. She wasn't just another admirer of Warren G. Harding. She was his lover, and their affair was hidden in the most unexpected place, a White House closet. Imagine the whispers, the stolen moments, and the fear of exposure. What drove them to risk everything? This isn't just a tale of romance. It's a story of power, deception, and a child born in the shadows. Stay with me because the truth is more twisted than you think. But before we uncover the final, chilling secret of Harding's hidden affair, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more haunting tales of dark history and twisted love. Nan Britton was just a teenager when she first met Harding, a charismatic newspaper publisher in Marion, Ohio. He was decades older, married, and already a rising political star. Their connection sparked during his Senate campaigns, with letters exchanged in secret. Nan, idealistic and infatuated, saw him as her hero. But behind the public image, Harding was a man of contradictions, charming yet vulnerable, powerful yet trapped. As he ascended to the presidency in 1921, their relationship deepened, moving from whispered promises to risky rendezvous. Why did a man at the pinnacle of power risk it all for a young woman? The answer lies in the loneliness that fame can bring. When Harding became president, the affair escalated into dangerous territory. Nan would visit the White House not as a guest but as a clandestine lover. They met in a small, unused closet near the Oval Office, a space big enough for whispers but not for comfort. There, amid the scent of old wood and polish, they shared moments of passion and paranoia. Nan later described how Secret Service agents would turn a blind eye, part of a web of complicity. But the stakes were high. One slip could ruin Harding's marriage and presidency. In 1919, Nan gave birth to their daughter, Elizabeth Ann, in secrecy, raising her away from the public eye. How did they keep such a monumental secret in the heart of American power? The facade began to crack after Harding's sudden death in 1923. Nan, now a single mother, faced financial struggles and the weight of her secret. She decided to go public, writing a memoir titled The President's Daughter in 1927. The book revealed intimate details of the affair and the closet meetings, sending shockwaves through society. Critics called her a gold digger, while supporters saw her as a victim of a powerful man's whims. Harding's family denied everything, branding her a liar. But Nan stood firm, using the controversy to support her child. Why would she expose herself to such scorn? Perhaps it was for validation, or maybe there was something darker she hadn't yet revealed. For decades, the story was dismissed as gossip, but evidence slowly emerged. Letters, witness accounts, and even genetic testing decades later supported Nan's claims. Elizabeth Ann grew up knowing little of her father, living a quiet life until DNA tests in the 2010s confirmed her lineage. The affair wasn't just a salacious tale. It highlighted the vulnerabilities of those in power and the women they left behind. Nan's fight for acknowledgement became a symbol of hidden histories. Yet questions lingered. Why did Harding, known for his affable nature, engage in such recklessness? And what other secrets died with him? The answers might lie in the pressures of leadership and the human need for connection. Here's the twist that changes everything. Nan Britton wasn't just fighting for her daughter's legacy. She was part of a broader pattern of Harding's secret life. Recent historians suggest that Harding had multiple affairs, and Nan's story was the tip of the iceberg. But the real shocker? Some evidence hints that Harding might have known about other illegitimate children and even provided hidden support through intermediaries, buried in old financial records. This wasn't a lone romance. It was a web of deception woven into the fabric of his presidency. What if Nan's courage in speaking out unveiled only a fraction of the truth, and more secrets remain locked away in history's shadows? Nan Britton's story is a haunting reminder of how power and love can collide, leaving legacies of silence and revelation. From a small-town girl to a key figure in a presidential scandal, her life shows the courage it takes to challenge history. But the mystery doesn't end here. What other secrets might be hiding in America's past? If this story gripped you, imagine what else is waiting to be uncovered. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think really happened in that White House closet? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more untold tales that will keep you guessing until the very end. In the quiet town of Marion, Ohio, two families were the closest of friends. Warren Harding, a rising political star, and James Phillips, a local merchant, shared everything, except one devastating secret. For over a decade, Harding was entangled in a passionate affair with James's wife, Carrie Phillips. But this wasn't just a story of betrayal. It was a love triangle that would draw the attention of military intelligence and threaten national security during World War I. How did a small-town romance become a potential espionage scandal? Just when you thought this web of deceit couldn't get darker, we're about to reveal the chilling truth that sealed Harding's fate. If you're hooked by these twisted tales of espionage and betrayal, smash that like button and subscribe to our channel for more haunting crime stories that will leave you unsettled. Now back to the shadows where Carrie's secrets festered in the heart of wartime Germany. The affair began innocently in 1905, rooted in friendship and shared social circles. Warren and Carrie's bond deepened over years, with stolen moments and heartfelt letters. But everything changed when Carrie and her family moved to Berlin from 1911 to 1914. Immersed in German culture, Carrie developed a fervent pro-German stance, admiring their society and ideals. When she returned to Ohio, she brought back not just souvenirs, but a loyalty that would clash with America's interests. Harding, now a U.S. Senator, found himself torn between his love for Carrie and his duty to his country. The stage was set for a conflict that would test his morals and his career. As World War I escalated, Carrie's pro-German sympathies grew stronger. She openly criticized the U.S. and pressured Harding to vote against entering the war. Intelligence reports began to surface, accusing her of making unpatriotic statements and possibly receiving money from the German government. Harding received a chilling letter from the military intelligence chief in 1917, questioning Carrie's loyalty. Despite his personal feelings, Harding voted for war with Germany, a decision that strained their relationship to its limits. But the government wasn't just watching Carrie. They were tracking her visits to Harding in Washington, fearing she was gathering information for the enemy. Was she a spy, or just a woman in love? The affair took a darker turn as Harding's political star rose. Carrie, feeling betrayed by his war vote, began to wield their relationship as a weapon. She possessed over 1,000 pages of love letters, many written on Senate stationery, proof that could destroy his career. During the 1920 presidential campaign, she threatened to expose him, demanding money and a trip to Japan in exchange for her silence. The Republican Party intervened, brokering a deal that paid her up to $25,000 and funded her travels. Harding, overwhelmed by the blackmail, wrote that she even threatened him with exposure to the Germans, blurring the lines between personal vendetta and espionage. How far would she go to protect her secrets? Despite the cover-up, the espionage allegations persisted. Intelligence reports from 1918 claimed Carrie and her daughter were gathering information on U.S. mobilization for Germany. Harding himself admitted that people said she influenced his votes and he feared she was reported to the departments here. Yet no definitive proof of traditional spying emerged. Her family later disputed the claims, arguing there was no evidence. Historians debate whether she was an active spy or merely a sympathizer using her influence. The government's extensive surveillance, including Justice Department monitoring, suggested real concern. As Harding won the presidency, the scandal remained buried, but the whispers of treason never fully faded. Just when it seemed the story would die with Harding's presidency, a shocking revelation emerged decades later. The love letters, sealed for nearly a century, were finally released in 2014. They revealed that Carey's motivations were far more complex than mere espionage. In one letter, she confessed that her pro-German stance was partly a desperate attempt to keep Harding close, fearing he would abandon her if America entered the war. She never directly spied for Germany. Instead, she used the threat of exposure to manipulate him, blurring personal revenge with political pressure. The real betrayal wasn't just to her husband or country. It was a tragic entanglement where love and loyalty became weapons, and Harding's heart led him into a web of deception that haunted his legacy. The story of Warren Harding and Carey Phillips is a haunting tale of how personal passions can collide with national interests. From a small-town affair to allegations of espionage, it shows the vulnerabilities of those in power. Though Carey wasn't proven to be a spy, her actions raised real security concerns and nearly derailed a presidency. The letters, hidden for years, remind us that history is often shaped by secrets we never see. What do you think really happened? Was Carey a traitor, a pawn, or just a woman caught in a love triangle? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you found this story intriguing, like and follow for more historical mysteries that challenge what we know. Imagine a cold night in 1874 Cleveland, where a young mother's world shattered in an instant. Maria Halpin, a hard-working shop clerk, found herself entangled in a nightmare that would haunt her for life. It started with a seemingly innocent encounter, but soon, whispers of a powerful man's dark secrets began to surface. Who was this man, and why did he target her? The answers lie buried in a scandal that could have changed American history forever. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you thought you knew about power and justice. But before we uncover the next chilling twist in Maria Halpin's haunting ordeal, if this dark tale of power and deception has gripped you, smash that like button and subscribe to our channel for more unsettling crime stories that will leave you questioning everything. Now back to the shadows where Cleveland's secrets lie buried in the twisted heart of this mystery. Maria Halpin was no ordinary woman. She was resilient, having built a quiet life for herself after personal hardships. Working in a Cleveland department store, she caught the eye of Grover Cleveland, then a rising lawyer and sheriff. Their paths crossed in social circles, but beneath the surface, something sinister brewed. Cleveland, known for his charm, began to show a darker side. Maria later claimed that he assaulted her during a private meeting, leaving her traumatized and alone. As she grappled with the aftermath, she discovered she was pregnant, a secret that would ignite a firestorm. How did a respected figure like Cleveland react? The truth was more shocking than anyone could imagine. When Maria gave birth to a son, she named him Oscar Folsom Cleveland, a name that hinted at the father's identity. But Cleveland denied everything, using his influence to silence her. He and his political allies launched a smear campaign, painting Maria as unstable and promiscuous. Desperate, she fought back, but the legal system turned a blind eye. Then the unthinkable happened. Her child was taken from her. Authorities, possibly under Cleveland's orders, placed the boy in an orphanage, claiming Maria was unfit. Heartbroken, she never saw her son again. This abduction wasn't just a personal tragedy. It was a calculated move to protect a political career. What lengths would a man go to bury his past? As Cleveland's star rose, eventually leading to the presidency, the scandal resurfaced during his campaigns. Opponents dug into Maria's story, but Cleveland's team doubled down, spreading lies that she had multiple lovers and the child wasn't his. Maria, isolated and broken, was institutionalized briefly, further discrediting her claims. Historians note that evidence was suppressed and key documents vanished. The public mostly believed the official narrative, but whispers persisted. Why did so many turn away from her plight? It was a classic tale of power versus truth, where a woman's voice was drowned out by the roar of ambition. Decades later, researchers pieced together fragments of the truth. Letters and court records suggested Cleveland likely fathered the child and orchestrated the cover-up. Maria's son, Oscar, was adopted and lived a quiet life, never knowing his full heritage. But the emotional toll on Maria was immense. She died in obscurity, her story largely forgotten. Modern analyses show how gender and class biases shaped the outcome. A wealthy man could destroy a woman's life with impunity. Yet questions remain. Was it purely about politics or something deeper? The silence surrounding this case speaks volumes about the era's injustices. Here's the twist that changes everything. Recently uncovered evidence suggests Cleveland might not have acted alone. Whispers from historical accounts indicate that powerful friends, including other politicians, helped fabricate the narrative to secure his election. Even more shocking, some theorists believe Maria's child was not just hidden, but might have been used as leverage in secret deals. What if the abduction was part of a broader scheme to control the presidency? This revelation turns a personal tragedy into a political conspiracy, raising the haunting question: how many others were silenced to protect one man's rise to power? Maria Halpin's story is a chilling reminder of how power can corrupt and silence the truth. From the alleged assault to the heartbreaking abduction of her son, this scandal reveals the dark underbelly of American politics. Grover Cleveland went on to become president, but the shadows of his past never fully faded. Today, we're left wondering, was justice ever served? What do you think really happened behind closed doors? Share your theories in the comments, and if this story moved you, like and subscribe for more hidden histories that challenge the official narrative. Remember, some secrets are meant to be uncovered. In a small Austrian town, a boy endured daily beatings from his father, refusing to cry even after 32 lashes. This child would grow up to become the most destructive force of the 20th century. But what really transformed this ordinary boy into a monster? The answer lies in a perfect storm of psychological trauma, political opportunity, and a society willing to look the other way. As we peel back the layers of history, you'll discover that evil isn't born. It's carefully constructed, piece by piece, through circumstances that could happen anywhere to anyone. The most terrifying part? The warning signs were there all along, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to connect the dots. Adolf Hitler's childhood was marked by constant fear and violence. His father, Eloi, administered daily whippings, creating an environment where the young boy learned to suppress all emotion. By age 11, he could endure 32 lashes without shedding a tear, a chilling display of emotional control that would define his later life. Meanwhile, his mother Clara watched helplessly, having already lost 3 children to diphtheria the year before Adolf's birth. This combination of paternal brutality and maternal anxiety created the perfect psychological storm. The boy developed what psychologists would later identify as syphilophobia, an intense fear of sexual contamination that reportedly led to sexual impotence. These early experiences planted seeds of resentment and rage that would fester for decades, waiting for the right moment to explode onto the world stage. As Hitler reached adulthood, his psychological wounds began to manifest in increasingly dangerous ways. Psychologists would later diagnose him with pathological narcissism, a compensatory defense against deep-seated feelings of inferiority. He became what experts call a counteractive type, primarily motivated by resentment and revenge. This wasn't just ordinary ambition. It was a burning need to prove his superiority to a world he felt had wronged him. He developed a messiah complex, seeing himself as Germany's savior during a time of economic collapse and national humiliation. But beneath the charismatic public speaker was a man suffering from chronic anxiety, insomnia, and physical ailments that mirrored his psychological turmoil. The stage was set for a perfect storm, but nobody could have predicted how devastating that storm would become. The political landscape of 1920s Germany created the perfect environment for Hitler's rise. The Weimar Republic was collapsing under the weight of hyperinflation, political extremism, and the Great Depression. Hitler learned from his failed beer hall putsch and adopted a new strategy, using democracy to destroy democracy. Through sophisticated propaganda, targeted messaging, and paramilitary intimidation, the Nazi Party evolved from a small radical movement to a mainstream political force. Conservative elites made a fatal miscalculation. They believed they could control Hitler, but they underestimated the depth of his resentment and the power of his vision. As economic desperation grew, ordinary Germans became willing to embrace radical solutions, creating a society ripe for manipulation by someone who understood their deepest fears and desires. Hitler's leadership style revealed a dangerous combination of charisma and psychological instability. He exhibited what philosophers would later call dysdaimonic genius, exceptional creative power paired with strong psychopathological tendencies. His decision-making was driven by emotion rather than reason, characterized by overconfidence, rigid thinking, and paranoid tendencies. He became increasingly suspicious of his own subordinates, micromanaging military decisions despite lacking expertise. Meanwhile, he perfected the art of projection and scapegoating, transferring his childhood hatred from his father to entire populations. The most chilling aspect: research suggests many of his followers were psychologically normal individuals operating within a destructive system. This raises terrifying questions about how ordinary people can become complicit in extraordinary evil. Here's the shocking twist that changes everything we thought we knew about evil. Psychological analysis reveals that Hitler wasn't a supernatural monster, but a profoundly damaged human being whose pathology emerged from recognizable, ordinary circumstances. The real mystery isn't how one man became evil, but how millions of ordinary people enabled that evil. Recent research shows that the perpetrators of history's greatest crimes were often psychologically normal individuals operating within destructive systems. Hitler's case demonstrates that evil doesn't require extraordinary motivation. It can emerge from the banality of ordinary thoughtlessness and compliance. The most terrifying realization: the psychological patterns that enabled Hitler's rise, narcissism, resentment-driven motivation, and messianic complex, remain alarmingly common in modern politics. We've been asking the wrong question all along. Instead of how was evil born, we should be asking, how do we prevent ordinary people from enabling evil? The story of Adolf Hitler's psychological development reveals that evil isn't born in a vacuum. It's cultivated through childhood trauma, societal failure, and the dangerous combination of charisma and pathology. From the beaten child in Austria to the dictator who plunged the world into war, we see how ordinary human weaknesses can have catastrophic consequences when combined with political opportunity. But this isn't just history, it's a warning. The psychological patterns that enabled Hitler's rise remain relevant today in our politics, our media, and our social dynamics. So I leave you with this question. What do you think really separates ordinary resentment from world-destroying evil? And more importantly, how do we recognize the warning signs before it's too late? Share your thoughts in the comments. This conversation might be more urgent than we realize. In the quiet corridors of power, a man obsessed with perfection began drawing lines on a map. Little did the world know, these lines would become the blueprint for one of history's darkest chapters. Who was this architect, and what drove him to build a system that would echo through time? Heinrich Himmler started as an unassuming man from Munich, plagued by health issues and dreams of order. In 1929, he took control of a small group called the SS, transforming it with ruthless efficiency. His talent for organization was unmatched, but beneath the surface, a dangerous ideology was brewing, one that valued purity above all else. By 1933, Himmler centralized control over Germany's camps, starting with Dachau. He created specialized units to guard them, turning chaos into a streamlined operation. As the camps multiplied, his vision expanded across Europe, integrating forced labor for war production. But what was the true purpose behind this expansion? In 1941, Operation Reinhard began, named after a fallen comrade. Himmler directed the establishment of 3 killing centers, Belzec, Sobibor, and Treblinka, using gas technology adapted from earlier programs. Rail networks were coordinated to transport countless people, all under the guise of efficiency. The scale was unprecedented, yet it remained hidden from most. Himmler's ideology fueled this machinery. He believed in racial purity and saw himself as building a new elite. His plans extended beyond the camps, envisioning colonization that would displace millions. The bureaucracy ran smoothly with every detail meticulously managed. But as the war progressed, cracks began to show in his perfect system. In a shocking turn, Himmler's own records revealed that he saw the camps not just as tools of destruction, but as a perverted form of social engineering. He believed he was cleansing humanity for a better future, a twist that shows how ideology can warp reality. This revelation forces us to question how ordinary ambitions can lead to unimaginable outcomes. Himmler's story is a stark reminder of how systems built on ideology can spiral into darkness. His legacy challenges us to reflect on the power of bureaucracy and belief. What do you think drives someone to cross such lines? Share your thoughts in the comments below. In the shadows of 1930s Germany, a man with a twisted vision began to shape the minds of a nation. Joseph Goebbels, once an aspiring writer, found his true calling in propaganda. His words could ignite hatred or inspire blind loyalty, but what drove him to such extremes? This is the story of the master manipulator whose secrets are only now coming to light. But before we uncover the next chilling twist in Goebbels' dark propaganda machine, if you're gripped by this haunting tale, smash that like button and subscribe for more unsettling stories from the shadows of history. Now back to the twisted web of lies that ensnared a nation. Born into a modest family, Goebbels struggled with a physical disability that fueled his insecurities. He turned to academia, earning a doctorate, but rejection from publishers left him bitter. Then he discovered the Nazi Party, where his oratory skills caught Hitler's eye. Appointed as Gauleiter of Berlin, he began to test his propaganda techniques, using rallies and newspapers to spread his message. But beneath the surface, his personal diaries hinted at deeper turmoil and ambitions. As the Nazis rose to power, Goebbels was made Minister of Propaganda, giving him control over all media. He orchestrated massive events like the Nuremberg rallies, using film, radio, and art to create a cult of personality around Hitler. His big lie theory claimed that repeating falsehoods could make them truth, but insiders whispered that Goebbels often doubted his own creations, fueling paranoia that he was being watched. During World War II, Goebbels' propaganda machine intensified, blaming enemies for Germany's struggles and promoting total war. He used emotional appeals to maintain morale, even as defeats mounted. Behind closed doors, he faced growing dissent and family pressures, with his wife Magda and their children becoming symbols in his campaigns. Yet, cracks appeared as allies questioned his methods, and some plots to undermine him emerged. As the war neared its end, Goebbels remained fiercely loyal, moving his family into Hitler's bunker. In his final days, he continued broadcasting, urging resistance despite certain defeat. Then, in a shocking act, he and his wife poisoned their 6 children before taking their own lives. This tragedy was portrayed as an ultimate sacrifice, but questions lingered about what drove such a horrific decision. Decades later, historians uncovered evidence that Goebbels had secretly recorded private conversations, revealing he knew the war was lost early on. He manipulated events to cement his legacy, even planning posthumous propaganda. Some experts believe he intended for his family's fate to become a myth, ensuring his name would live on in infamy. This twist shows he was not just a follower, but a calculating architect of his own dark legend. Joseph Goebbels' life was a web of manipulation, from his rise to his tragic end. His propaganda techniques still influence modern media, reminding us of the power of words. But what do you think was his true motive? Was he a loyalist or a master of deception? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more untold stories from history. It was a moonlit night in May 1941 when a lone German aircraft crossed the North Sea, defying all odds. Inside, one of Hitler's most trusted men embarked on a mission so secret, even his own government didn't know. What drove Rudolf Hess to fly into enemy territory alone? The answer would haunt historians for decades. But before we uncover what awaited Hess in that shadowy Scottish manor, remember to like and subscribe to our channel for more chilling tales of history's darkest secrets. Now, back to the mystery. As Hess stepped from the plane, a cold dread settled over the Moors. Rudolf Hess was no ordinary Nazi. As Deputy Führer, he had helped write Mein Kampf and stood by Hitler through the early struggles. But by 1941, his influence was fading. Whispers in Berlin called him unstable, a man desperate to prove his worth. He began secret preparations, studying maps and contacting obscure advisors, all while hiding his true intentions from the Führer himself. On May 10th, Hess took off from Bavaria in a Messerschmitt Bf 110 loaded with extra fuel tanks. For 4 hours, he flew north, avoiding detection. His target, Scotland. He believed British aristocrats like the Duke of Hamilton